Thanks, Hazel. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's cold, it's January, and we've all got the post-Christmas blues. But fear not, what a clash we have now to warm things up here at Wembley. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get the boys on the bays. Please welcome a player enjoying his highest ever world ranking. He had a superb run to the Crucible semi-final last year. He's the Cambridge Cuman, also known as the Gentleman. He's Joe Perry. And his opponent, a true genius of the modern game. 3 times a winner of this Masters title, the reigning world champion and world #1, blink and you'll miss him, is the Rocket, Ronnie O'Sullivan.
Well, it's the biggest arena in which these players play in snooker. Very special atmosphere, as you can probably detect here in the Wembley Arena. Remember, first man to chalk up 6 frames is going through to the quarter-final today. And calling the shots for us, we welcome Willie Thorne and Steve Davis. We're missing you in here, Steve, but it's nice to see you in good form in there. Good afternoon to you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon, Hazel. Good afternoon, everybody. If he behaves himself, I might let him stay in here a little bit longer, but it's a pleasure to have the legend Steve Davis with me this afternoon doing this, what could be a fantastic match, Steve. And Ronnie's got a little bit to prove, because at Telford he was outplayed.
Yes, Joe played superbly well up there in Telford, beat Ronnie 9-5. I would venture that possibly Ronnie's a harder prospect here in London with such fantastic support. But I'm going to say, what an atmosphere.
It was as good an atmosphere as I've ever heard when Ronnie walked in. I mean, the boy is so loved by the public because of how good a player he is. I mean, he is a genius, and all geniuses, we know, blow hot and cold. I wonder what we're going to get today.
Early mistake, an attempt to into the middle pocket, but by no means a certainty.
Yeah, depending on what angle he's got, he can just roll it in for blue or yellow, but if he can play it at pace and come through the gap of the pack and the 2 reds to the right, he's not quite got that angle. He'd like to get onto the black from this to make the scoring easier, but as you can see, he was too straight for that. And as Steve mentioned, if that was probably second frame and got your hand on the table a couple of times, you'd have fancied knocking that one in, but first chance, and it wasn't an easy red to play. Two reds above the black are the key balls here. Once he gets on one of those, it makes things quite easy at this end of the table. Did you ever have a game plan, Steve, when you were playing somebody like Ronnie, or did you take every opponent the same? Did you ever kind of feel you had to play a different way against somebody so natural as Ronnie?
Well, I suppose the equivalent of playing Ronnie in this era would have been playing Jimmy White at the Benson Hedges Masters at the conference centre down the road, or possibly against Alex Higgins for me. What you did know is that you were going to be playing with a crowd who were very involved in the match.
4.
that it was important that possibly you got off to a good start against that player. Keep them on the back foot, but that's tough to do against Ronnie O'Sullivan, it must be said.
One of your greatest wins of the many tournaments
11.
you won over 70, I believe, that was here at the conference centre when you beat Ronnie from, I think you were 8-5 behind. You beat him 9-8, wasn't it?
Yes, I was helped by a streaker actually. Long time ago now.
I think the streaker was there for
12.
Ronnie, Steve, to be honest.
$19. 20.
Two more open reds. And we see how Ronnie O'Sullivan goes about continuing the break.
27.
It's not certain after these two reds. But that main pack that we see is not that tightly grouped together. There is room for manoeuvre going into them.
Yeah, the three reds are in a line directly above the black. The right hand one of those three reds, if you just get an angle on the black, that's the one he'd like to hit, because he'll bring all reds into play. If he takes the risk and hits the middle red of the three, he could stick on them. That's not in the
28.
equation now, though, because he's too straight on the black, so he can't play that. He'll have to play for the loose one. If he hit the middle one, you see, he could stick on those, so he'd have to hit the one on the outside ones, but the angle on the black is not there, I don't think, so he'll have to play for the loose one. So this is the key shot already in this break. He needs an angle now on this next red to be able to get on the half ball black to get into them.
35.
Or possibly the blue. May not have exactly the right angle, but sometimes the blue's a nice ball to go into. Obviously chose not to there, but
36.
this has got to be a good shot now. Powering the black in off the top cushion and relying on a little bit of luck.
Yeah, it's got to done with another 2 inches of pace in that cue ball. Like Steve said, he's going to play this harder than he wanted to. And that's the reason you don't get always the good reaction. He's okay, he's got one in the middle. The thing is, he was just a little bit
43.
too straight to get that cue ball to go into the pack with any pace. There is one in the middle, but position's not guaranteed. I think he can see the middle one.
Well, it's very tight. He can certainly cut that outside right one in, but if he can get through the gap, he's been quite fortunate, really. It's very, very tight indeed. It looks like he would have to play it perhaps with a fraction of left-hand spin, just to flick. Yes, just to flick the red in. Don't think he can see enough of it, so to speak, to hit it far enough to the left to avoid pushing that red to the far jaw. So does he try and cut it in or cut his losses?
Yeah, the cut's dangerous because the red to the left of his bridging hand, the one in open play, would be available if he misses the red in the middle. So maybe a good safety shot would suffice here. You could say he's a little bit unlucky going into them, but as we mentioned, he had a really bad angle on the black to go into them at pace. Not very often you see Ronnie take over a minute to play a shot, but it is awkward. If he plays the cut in the middle, he'll be leaving the one near his bridge hand in the other middle, so he's got to be careful with this. Decided to just play the safe.
Ronnie O'Sullivan,
played it well.
43.
This is the angle he had on the black a few moments ago, and if that cue ball had been another 2 inches to the left, he'd have got a lot more spin on the cue ball, and that white would have gone into the bunch a lot quicker than it did. It was just a little bit too straight to generate the speed he needed. That's not a bad safety shot from Joe. That's a good shot.
Touching ball.
Along with Mark Selby, Steve, I don't know whether you agree with me in this comment I'm going to make. I think he's definitely the most improved player in the game.
Yes, and possibly another one in that equation would be the wild card in this event, Ricky Walden, who's been superb this season, and as last year, and the Chinese Open champion, or the Shanghai Masters, one of them. Good shot there from Ronnie O'Sullivan. Oh, the game had a chance of being tied down with all the reds being pushed into the bottom half of the table, but with that clever safety shot, perhaps the game will retain some sort of normality. Got a tempter of the outside red at the back of the pack to cut in, but it's very tempting. Not too sure if he's tempting the pot here. Looks like a safety shot across the face.
Yeah, Ronnie would like to put another couple of reds safe, wouldn't he? 43 points in front. The reds are in open play at the moment.
Yes, as we said, Joe, one of the most improved players. He's always been a great player. This is a shot that Ronnie O'Sullivan played. He wanted to be a lot wider on this, and as you can see from Hawkeye, where he'd have liked the white to have been was a bit higher up the table, so perhaps giving himself a half ball black would have been easier for the white ball to escape off the black onto the top cushion and then into the reds. As it was, it had to suffice with a 43-point lead, and still everything to play for. All the balls really live out in the open.
Has a chance here to push the one to the extreme right of the bunch onto the left-hand side cushion and drop the white. Tight on the back cushion if he wants to. Can run through and get the white in behind the black as well in doing that.
The outside red's potable, but obviously he wants to make sure that he plays safe at the same time. The only real safe area is right down in that green pocket area. Anything else is risky.
Took the pot on and played it beautifully. Took the risk that he was going to cover the red and bought with the yellow, and he played it so well, he got everything right. If he'd have missed it, he wouldn't have left anything on. Excellent pot. Could be a frame winner.
Yes, Willie, best shot of the day probably. No disrespect to Stephen Maguire and Graham Dott. Fractionally shy of pace. Don't think he can get through to the second red down the table. So left-handed, slightly more missable cut.
Seven.
Bit out of position.
Yeah, yellow could come to Joe's rescue here. The natural angle just before the middle pocket with the cue ball. Well, he's going to have to be very careful he doesn't snooker himself behind yellow and brown for that red in the balk area. He might play it a little bit harder than normal just to try and bring the white a little bit more into open play. Yes, he has played it a little bit harder. Look, you see, to try and take the yellow out of the equation. Well, you heard it here first,
14.
but that's a little bit unlucky. He played that well.
Ronnie O'Sullivan, 14.
Apart from that first chance red that Joe Perry had early on, when perhaps he wasn't really in the flow of things, he's had to play much of a containing game so far, but he's still in the frame, so to speak. Well, obviously would like those two reds on the side cushion to be in open play, but at some stage in the safety department they probably will come into open play unless Ronnie O'Sullivan can keep the heat on.
Now you see Ronnie trying to put a red safe, but if it catches the jaw, it's not going to be safe. And it did catch the jaw. Without it catching the jaw, that would have been tight on the cushion. That would have been a good safety.
Underrated safety player is Ronnie O'Sullivan. Obviously the superlatives are usually about his speed of play, his great break building, but he has a great safety brain as well when he chooses to enforce it. So Joe forced into taking this on, possibly only going to leave that one up should he miss it. Great shot. Excellent shot.
It's one of those, Steve, isn't it, when you play in that shot, you think, well, I'm in the frame if I pot it, I've lost the frame if I miss it, and he played it beautifully, and the red at the back of the cluster of 3 will pot, so I think he's underhit this, though. He had a lot of margin of error, that.
6.
Looks a bit too risky to cut it in, even though he will be bringing the pink and red into play. It looks far too risky, that one. You never really get the speed of the table till you get past about the 30-point break, and you can forgive Joe for playing a poor shot there on the blue, because it was his first visit to the table with a scoring opportunity.
Joe Perry, 6.
Don't know whether Ronnie's thinking of pushing the pink safe. I'm just looking, it may cannon into the blue if he's thinking of knocking the pink safe there, but he decided to try and get all balls safe there. And what a great shot he's played. If he's covered the red in the middle, that's excellent. Look where the balls are now. He's put the red near the green, he's put the pink out of commission. Very clever shot. Joe Perry was nicely on the blue, as we suggested, and of course he just slightly undid it. This is with the view of Hawkeye. That's where we wanted it to finish, and it'd been perfect there. But as I mentioned in commentary, it was his first real visit to the table, so getting the pace right earlier on is tough.
I think Joe Perry will settle for that safety shot. Risky that the red poked its nose out past the brown. But Ronnie O'Sullivan really has got the upper hand in this safety battle with a 51-point lead, and all reds in the bottom half of the table after this shot. That improves the situation. That red goes very safe, and Joe Perry's task of trying to clear this lot up is a lot harder than it was the last time he was in amongst them after that poor positional shot.
Tempter for Ronnie. He could have a go at this one and just play the little cannon into the blue. I know that he will be leaving the red on to the left of the blue, but if he doesn't fancy it, he could play the deep screw off the red and try and bring the white back down here. A bit of value in taking the pot on, because he's got 4 reds virtually out of play. If these reds are all in open play, he'd be reluctant to play this. Well, if you practiced and practiced for 8 hours a day, you can't cue a ball better than that. That's the beauty of O'Sullivan when he's playing good. He strokes the ball in. A lot of players
6.
there would have played that a lot harder than that. He's just blessed with the most amazing cue action to be able to get the pace
7.
from a shot like that. Glance at the scoreboard will tell him he's 63 points in front with only 59 on, so as long as this red goes in, he will probably stop Joe coming back to the table.
13.
In fact, his first frame, you may see Joe coming back. You never know these days.
Sorry.
Very quickly out of the blocks is Ronnie O'Sullivan in this
50.
match.
$15 and the first frame. Ronnie O'Sullivan.
looks like he means business, doesn't he, the Rocket? First signs, first hints of how he might be thinking and feeling out there, John?
Well, if we need an example of how he's cueing, we've certainly got one straight away, because the red he's just knocked into the corner pocket is absolutely superb. Look at that, right through it, plumb in the middle, never touched the jaw. And to hit it like that and as sweetly as that, you've got to be cueing well, so it's a good start for him.
From what you've seen of him this season, Ken, he's won one tournament, he's been runner-up in another, but the last two that we've seen him in, the Grand Prix and the United Kingdom Championship, he's looked a little bit unsettled. Do you feel it's time for him to perhaps push on a little bit this season?
I think so, because normally he you know, Ronnie would sort of gear himself up for the BBC events. He would see the BBC events as like the majors, that would be the ones he would concentrate, culminating in the World Championship obviously at the end of the season. So, you know, there's no better place than Ronnie loves is out there in Wembley in front of a packed audience. He wants to perform, he's a performer, you know, he wants to play well. If he doesn't play well, he sort of gets down on himself. He wants to produce the goods all the time. He's not going to do that. But, you know, that's the place for him out there in front of a packed audience.
How much do you detect, John, that this crowd seems to stimulate and lift him?
Very much so. I actually think this is a tournament that suits him down to the ground.
Yeah.
It suits him because it's a home event. It's a home event for him. He can go back and commute every day. I think half the time when he's away for long periods of time, certainly at Sheffield, he gets fed up. If he's away from home for over a week or 10 days, he starts to get fed up. You can see it in his demeanour. Sometimes he doesn't want to be there. This event suits him down to the ground. He can go, he can play, he can go home, be back where he wants, then come back and play again. And of course he's got the crowd on his side, and if he can turn it on and play to his capabilities, this is an event that suits him right down to the ground.
Well, he started this campaign very positively.
It's a tempter for Ronnie, only because it's not an easy safety shot, but he'd want to be low on the black to make it into a shot to nothing. Left a tempter for Joe. He'd like to take the one in the middle if he can, rather than the one in the corner, because the one in the corner would be cannon into reds, but that's gone a little bit too near the blue to make that a possibility.
Yes, every time you play a long pot into a corner pocket and miss it, you never know exactly where the balls are going to end up. And your opponent can always feel slightly aggrieved that he didn't get a better leave. Possibly where the luck element of snooker comes in. Is this a attempt to pass the blue into the corner pocket with an element of safety as well, I think. A shot to nothing, but he's choosing the more conventional safety shot. Keeping the pressure on.
Yeah, I was interested in the point you made earlier on that Ronnie is surprisingly a great safety player, and he is, Steve, isn't he? I mean, you know, we know he's one of the best natural talents in the game, but I think like Alex Higgins of years ago, you know, he knew his way around the table, didn't he, Higgins? And Ronnie is a fabulous safety player.
Yes, I mean, you don't know your way around the table just as a positional player and a potter. If you can play to the levels of positional play that Ronnie O'Sullivan does, you can play any safety shot in the book. Sometimes it's whether you choose to actually employ that safety play. And I think Ronnie O'Sullivan, when his mind's on the job, is very, very dangerous in the safety department. Not only does he play good quality of weight, but he also chooses some excellent safety shots that puts his opponent in a lot of trouble. But Joe Perry's no slouch in that department, and that's an excellent shot. Not too sure what Ronnie can do here. Perhaps dump on the top cushion, which is a technical term.
Yes, thankfully. Yes, he's got the up and down, but if he plays this poorly, this red is cuttable into the middle. So he's got to be careful that he gets the white right in the jaws of this middle pocket. Well, he's played the shot to nothing and played it beautifully. Wow, what a shot. Well, once again, you can't hit a shot better than that. And I think the thing is that's so good with Ronnie, Steve, he plays shot to nothings as shot to somethings rather than shot to nothings. Most players would have played the white and baulk there, wouldn't they?
Yes, the modern day player doesn't play to get the white ball back on the bottom rail. They do play position for the ball colours. And Joe Perry can count himself very unlucky that he gave Ronnie O'Sullivan a sniff at that, because it looked a better safety shot than it actually turned out to be. But once again, Ronnie O'Sullivan at the table with many reds available, possibly
Fine.
hampered by the red by the blue, makes this break a lot harder with the blue out of commission.
Yeah, pink and black are in play though, so as long as Ronnie gets nicely on this red's not the problem, it's the angle he gets on the colour to get on the next red. Ideally he'd like to get on the one just above the black there, because that's the only guaranteed positional shot, but
6.
if he plays for any of the other reds he's going to have to get the cue ball perfect pace.
A lot of players, when they're break building, use the blue as a sort of saver colour. If they run out of position on the red, they can use the blue to get back up the table for the black and the pink. They'll be very upset with that one.
Sullivan 6.
So Joe Perry's first genuine chance. Does he play red and then black? Straight in? Or does he clear that red away from the blue? That's an option as well, although he's not even considered it.
1.
There's enough reds open, as long as you play decent position.
Yes, to be a delighted Joe Perry to have got back to the table so quickly there. I'm sure, having seen Ronnie knock the opening red in, he thought it could be, you know, 30 or 40 point
8.
deficit he was going to face at least.
Nine.
Needs to be straightish on this red if possible.
16.
Yes, he's okay. Can run through again for the black, and that will open another red into the opposite corner. So this is, as Steve mentioned, the first real
70.
chance of Joe Perry.
Very well struck shot there. Would have been easy for that
24.
little positional shot to go wrong. And as it is, he's opened up a couple more reds into easily pottable positions, whilst retaining perfect position on the red and then choice of colour. And all of a sudden, Joe Perry's cue arm will feel a lot freer. He's on the table. He knows he can play the game to the highest standard, even to beat the likes of Ronnie O'Sullivan. And given equal chances, he must fancy the job. Still not clear cut with those 4 reds around the pink spot area, so it could still go wrong, and that's not the best positional shot. Not so happy with the outcome of that.
32.
If he was dead straight on this red into the middle pocket, it would be okay, but the cue ball's travelling fractionally towards the pink, and he may have to use the yellow ball here. It depends. That's okay, perhaps. Yeah, fair enough.
33.
Just about able to keep position on the pink.
Yes, he's very proficient in the break building department now, Joe. One of the players that have made over 100 competitive centuries. Has actually made exactly 100 competitive centuries. Quite a long way behind
39.
his opponent today, who's made well over 300. But if he does get a chance, he scores as heavy as most.
40.
Well, I bet if you looked at the graph of how many competitive centuries he's made in the last few seasons, he's certainly on the up. And very fluent amongst the balls now is Joe Perry. Doesn't waste much time once he gets going.
Yes, we mentioned Mark Selby earlier on, who
47.
won this magnificent championship last year, and we said they were both the 2 most improved players in the game, and for that reason, Steve, they're both now are good break builders. Mark Selby's always been, in my opinion, one of the best safety players in the game, and had one of the best temperaments of the game.
14.
The thing was lacking until 2 years ago was his break building. He's now become a very, very good break builder, as is this young man. You'd have to say now this is obviously a chance to level at 1-all.
$55. $56. 63.
Well, Joe's more or less over the line. He's done his job very well here. He would have been disappointed to have messed up that chance, especially after Ronnie had... Oh, just
Joe Perry,
as well.
63.
So close to the finishing line.
Isn't it funny, if that wasn't frame ball, you'd have, you know, bet all the tea in China that he'd potted that. The fact that it's frame ball, it sometimes kind of puts that little bit of negativity into your mind there. The reason I say frame ball, the yellow is over the pocket, so there'd have been no problem there. And these reds are not in a bad position for a counter-attack at some stage, should Ronnie pot the next red. At this standard, you know, 57-point lead with, you know, 67 on, is obviously a great lead, but where the balls are, there's every chance that O'Sullivan can get back into this frame. Well, that will help. It's good safety, that.
Well, Ronnie O'Sullivan's got a sniff at this red, and even though those two reds have gone safe on the top cushion, wouldn't take much of a shot to split them apart. So, big ball here for Ronnie O'Sullivan to try and get back into this frame.
Yes, I must admit I took my half the white. I thought the white was nearer the top cushion than that, but it doesn't appear that Ronnie's left anything straightforward for Joe. Does this red just sneak in the middle by the other red? It does. Great shot. Frame winner.
Well, an important frame here for Joe Perry.
8.
Ronnie O'Sullivan looked in fine fettle, but for that unexpected miss on the yellow.
9.
And in what is relatively a short distance race, best of 11 here this afternoon, you don't want to let your opponent get too far in front. Not that you ever want to let your opponent get in front.
14.
Yes, O'Sullivan made a break of 43 in the opening frame, which could have been more. Joe Perry's made a break of 63 in this frame, and that's proved to be enough in this frame. O'Sullivan acknowledges defeat. So matters all square at the moment. One each, Joe Perry and Ronnie O'Sullivan. And you mentioned just at the close of commentary there, Steve, the miss yellow. Just tell me why these are missed when it's such an easy shot. Is it the fact he put a little bit of unwanted side on and just pushed the white in?
Well, it was a bit thinner than he would have wanted to, but he was trying to actually play position at the same time. If it was just a case of potting the ball, I'm sure he would have cut it in with middle plane ball. But as you see, he was aiming quite low on that, perhaps putting a bit of left-hand spin on the ball. And that all adds to the confusion of the pot, effectively. It just makes it a little bit harder when you put side spin, back spin on. Naturally, when you roll a ball towards another ball, it releases correctly, but spins can do strange things, and he called it a bit thick. Consequence was a missed opportunity.
Yes, and when undercost him the frame, Joe replied with the highest break of the match thus far, the break of 63. And you know, you never settle till you win a frame, and Ronnie would be disappointed.
Thank
not
you.
to be 2-0 in
The third
front.
frame. Ronnie O'Sullivan to break.
Ronnie O'Sullivan breaking off in frame 3. And it's Joe Perry's turn to have a go at the long one here. The black has sprung away from its spot, but as long as he finishes low on the black, he can play this as a shot to nothing. But the two reds to the right of the pink are available in the middle. So it's key to get the white close to the jaws of the top corner pocket if he's going to play this pot to make it into a shot to nothing. Oh dear, that was the proverbial mile away, that one.
1.
It doesn't appear that he can miss the cannon on the red above the black spot now. The only problem with this cannon, he's got to hit it thin on either the left-hand side or the right-hand side. If he hits it full, he might not be on a red. Ideally, if he plays the screw shot, he should be able to flick it half ball. He may even be on the 2 reds in the middle pocket if he doesn't get a good kiss. See how low he's queuing here just to try and get the half ball cannon. Well, he missed the cannon. That tells me that the red above it pots. A little surprised he didn't play the cannon there, because the black may be tied up now.
8.
Nearest its own spot without touching. Referee Jan Verhaas, one of our truly great referees, and a bit of sad news to report, one of our great referees who refereed this Masters finals on many occasions, John Street. I'm sure the viewing public and the people in the audience today will remember John.
9.
Sadly passed away last week. Our condolences with his family. He was a great, great referee.
Yes, John Street was the referee that refereed
16.
my final against Ronnie here in '97.
I remember Ronnie going up to him with a damp cloth when the streaker came on. That's right. Yeah, that was one of the clips that we remember. Bless him. Ronnie's overrun this, hasn't he? He's left himself a little bit to do.
$17.
The red above the black's now going to be moved, so some skillful positional play needed here to keep in position.
24.
Now, Ronnie O'Sullivan, looking for the 147 break prize, would be taking this red to the left of our screens. Ronnie O'Sullivan, intent upon winning the event, will take the one to the right. Bit simplistic, but
25.
some work to be done with quite a tight pack.
Yeah, if the pink had been on its spot here, he may have played into them, but he can't do that, because if he hits the pink half ball, it won't bring any reds into play. So this time he would definitely be playing for one of the loose ones. Very fast on the bed. I thought he'd overrun that for a moment.
30.
Tables play very similar, Steve, don't they? But you know, the cushions can differ, can't they, from one tournament to the next? You can get that little bit of extra spring now and again.
Yes, we probably play on the fastest. Well, this is a tricky one. Thought the other red would have putted, but judgment shot here. Very hard to judge
Ronnie
those,
O'Sullivan, 30.
as he got the protection of the blue ball. That's pretty tight. Obviously, I think, judging by Joe Perry's body language, he's got away with it. Big break for Ronnie O'Sullivan, getting away with that. Yes, I think going back to the tables, probably the fastest conditions we've ever played on the current conditions. Sometimes it's like playing on ice. Very fast cushions, the thinnest cloth we've ever played on. And whilst it means you don't have to ever force the shot, you don't have to hit the balls hard, which can improve your accuracy when you don't have to push yourself to the limits, it does make positional play very tricky sometimes. Even the slightest of overhitting or especially overhitting, can result in the cue ball being miles away from where you intend it, and can make some players look pretty rubbish in the positional play department. Good safety shot there from Joe, covering that red to the right of the green. So that 30-point lead from Ronnie O'Sullivan. At this level of play, not much really. Good containing safety there.
Amazingly enough, he may not have played the pot there, to be honest, but he's very unlucky with the result. I think he slightly mishit the red and played where the white's finishing. That's the reason I think he might not have played the pot.
Yeah, I think he's got to wipe his mouth and take the bad luck there, because he was so far away from the shot he intended that he can't have expected to get away with it. The cue ball was never meant to go anywhere near the jaws of the pocket. And has Ronnie O'Sullivan got an ideal angle on the blue to try and orchestrate a position on a red? There may be one that goes, but really I think he'll be going into them. No, he's found one. There it is.
To the edge, I think, Steve, as well. He couldn't have played that better, and he can run through without playing a contact on another red. That was a great positional shot, wasn't it? It was a great shot. The cannon on the red directly above the black. If he plays that just at a nice pace, doesn't have to play it too hard, just a little full ball contact, he'll have the choice of 3 reds. He's digging low though, so he may have found something different to that. No, just play the little cannon that we suggested and he's okay.
14. 15.
Tried to be too careful that time. It's unlike Ronnie there. You'd have expected him to play it at pace, to bring other reds into play. He normally does that. Decided to play a little full ball cannon again, as he did in the previous shot, but because he caught it half ball, that's the reason he's lost the cue ball. Playing a safety, end of break. That's a shock. Well, he's had it off again. He's played 2 or 3 shots already, Ronnie, in this match. He's had a right result, and that is another one.
Yeah, very untempting 2-ball plant there. So behind the black, that's about all you can do. Or down the table. Opens the reds up, but you make sure you get a better safety shot than that out of it. It really was a loose safety that Joe's played there.
Yeah, whatever standard you're playing, you've got to get nearer the ball cushion than that. If you ever leave your opponent a chance with the hand on the table, if Ronnie misses this, it shows good luck, and he has got a bit of good luck. So sometimes a bad shot can win you the frame. That could be one of those equations where a bad shot could have won in the frame. He can certainly get back into it. He's 52 points behind.
Ronnie will be disappointed with that. Joe Perry gets his mind on the job of clearing all these balls up, and the only saver for Ronnie O'Sullivan is that red past the middle pocket, which looks potable on our TV screens, but in reality, with the table being foreshortened, it's quite a tricky little pot into the middle pocket. But as Willie says, he should get back in the frame.
Yes, he'd be, I think, Steve, like you were saying, it's too tough, I think, to play. So already he'd like to get the 4 loose reds and 4 colours, and the one next to the green, like to get on that red half ball to play the pot red and move the other red off the cushion. That's what you'd be thinking you'd want to do.
16.
But the red that's nearest his hand now, that's not a straightforward one to get on, but if he can get to that position there where he can get onto the red next to the green to move the other red out, that would give him a chance to win the frame at one visit. Otherwise, he's going to need 2 chances.
He's a bit straighter on the black than he would have wanted. So he may be playing the red in the middle pocket here.
$24.
Would like to be clearing these reds up in sort of roughly the order they lay on the table,
25.
relating to the top cushion. Work your way down the table red-wise. A little bit more pace on the red, just about there. Be
32.
If he's got an angle on the one in the middle, I'd be tempted to take the one in the middle here. I'm surprised he's taking this one. For only the reason is he might not get the right angle next time, but he should be okay. He's coming round to have a look now at that red. The reason I said that, if he finishes straight on it, Steve, he's got precious little he can do with the cue ball.
So now, will you be getting to the stage where the professional player is looking at the shot you were predicting earlier on? He now wants to get an angle on the red by the green to get that red off the
39.
side cushion and retain position on the colour. And it's going to be pretty nice, I think, the way he sorted this out. Here's the red into the middle pocket, keep low on
40.
the blue, and he's more or less obligated, unless he butchers this blue, to get a possible angle on that red to shift the other red.
Oh, that's a terrible shot. I can only presume that wasn't even in Joe's mind to leave the half-ball red the way he played that.
45.
Well, he shook his head. I think he just butchered the blue.
Well, you can't play it that bad, can you, not to finish another foot down the table? Still nearly managed to get an angle, but it was a poor effort.
Yeah, a bit unlucky. Even though he wasn't ideally placed, he created the positional shot, but you consider himself a bit unlucky there. But perhaps with a different angle on that red, it may be an easier way of cannoning the ball out. So relief for Ronnie O'Sullivan. It's going to be a lot harder now to pop this red into the green pocket. And this is one that Ronnie O'Sullivan is hoping
52.
he misses.
Yes, he's forced into taking this on. He can play it at a nice pace as well. He doesn't have to play it too hard. Give the pocket every chance. That's brilliant.
53.
That is brilliant. Well played, Joe Perry. He needed one chance in the second frame. He made a break of 63. He needed one chance in this frame. Is this going to be another frame winner? He just like playing Ronnie O'Sullivan.
58. 60.
Well, it's a game of
63.
fractions, and it doesn't mean to say that a player is playing badly just because he misses a couple of balls, but Ronnie O'Sullivan, from having an excellent start, has gone slightly off the boil in this match, and Joe Perry
67.
has taken every opportunity, really.
Yes, it was an unlike shot from Ronnie that gave Joe this chance.
72.
Because he played a slow cannon onto a red that didn't come right. Joe Perry, at his next visit to the
78.
table, has made this frame-winning break. I knew we were going to have a match on our hands. Now we're guaranteed to have a match on our hands. Joe Perry's in great form. Already breaks of 63 and now 85 takes him into the lead at 2 frames to 1.
Well, earlier on, John Parrott said the key for Joe Perry was not to be bullied by Ronnie O'Sullivan, and he's showing absolutely no signs of that. Ken, how well do you reckon that Joe is cueing out there from what you've seen?
Well, we just saw from that clearance, it was a fantastic clearance, a great, you know, he missed the cannon here, tried to force the angle a little bit, missed the cannon to bring the red over the middle pocket. But I was a little bit surprised he actually he tracked the red for the green pocket. I thought he might track the red for the double, but I mean he cued the red down the rail absolutely superbly and made a great frame winner break. It showed a lot of great character, showed a lot of confidence, and as John said, he's certainly not phased by playing O'Sullivan, partly because he's beaten him a couple of times this season already.
And they've faced one another so often. I mean, the whole confidence factor of being out there, especially in the bigger tournaments like this, because Joe, as we know, is a Crucible semi-finalist. They got there last year, so he's now more comfortable, surely, in this kind of atmosphere.
He is, but I would put this up as the biggest test.
Really?
I would put this up as the biggest test because it's in front of 2,000 people who are cheering for the other fella. I mean, he might have a few supporters here, Joe Perry, but you know, you can guarantee that nearly all of them are here to see Ronnie play. So it's a bit like playing a football match away in Europe. You've got to play well first 20 minutes, you know, take the sting out the crowd, get yourself involved in the match, and Joe Perry's done that.
Well, it's an away fixture then, in terms of the way John describes it for Joe Perry, and he's coping very well so far.
What a good analogy that was from JP. I only wish I'd have thought of it myself. So Joe Perry is Certainly got a foothold in this match a lot quicker than Ronnie O'Sullivan would have liked.
Yes, it's interesting what John says, and full agreement. A bit unlucky there if that goes in off. Full agreement, as much as I think this is a bigger test for Joe Perry, but interesting as much as the UK Championship, in which Joe Perry beat Ronnie O'Sullivan in a fantastic match, possibly one of Joe Perry's best wins, would have been a very important win in the UK, second most important tournament, possibly the fact that there's more ranking points involved. But this Masters just shows you how much of an event it is, that how important the players view it. The cream playing each other.
A little careful here if he tries to swing this round 2 cushions. You can hit these thick. Got to be very careful. Well, he's hit it perfectly. Well played. Whenever you play that kind of shot, you've got to make sure you don't hit at the ball. Just stroke it. If you hit at it, the side will push into it a little bit more. That was perfectly played. And a tap on the table from gentleman Joe Perry.
Yes, no way of putting the white ball on this top cushion here now, with that red on, inviting along the top cushion. So somehow a very thin safety shot off that red. Can he just get past the green? Perhaps he's going to have to manufacture some sort of escape off one cushion. He'll be happy with that. Very happy.
Even though the white's not reached the baulk line, there's no easy pot for Ronnie. So he's only playing a safety shot round the back of the black, and this could go wrong. Got to be a little careful here. Clever shot without the in-off. It's perfect. Doesn't deserve to go in off. Very unlucky.
Oh.
Very unlucky. It was a good safety shot, that.
Actually, I think he's not too bad, considering that Joe Perry's got the whole of the D to place this cue ball. I think Ronnie O'Sullivan will consider that he's just about got away with this. I don't think Joe can get past to the right-hand red. Too risky, the red on the left that looks potable and inviting. So perhaps a safety shot, although the safety shots are not easy either. Be unusual to put your opponent back in, but there you go. He didn't like it. What can Ronnie see that Joe couldn't? Is there anything?
Well, win or lose, I couldn't have put the man back in again. Purely because, you know, with your hand on the table, Steve, you'd think you'd generate some sort of safety shot. He's looking at this pot to run through for the black, and if he can avoid the kiss on the red on the cushion, he could play this. Doesn't like it there. The double kiss is in the equation here, so it's good. But, you know, when your hand's on the table, you'd expect your opponent to play a good safety shot. That's why I was surprised that Joe put Ronnie back in there. Couldn't understand that at all. Well, anything can happen here. Joe concentrating on getting the cue ball
perfectly on the bottom cushion, and he's miles short of it, so has he got away with it? Getting a bit congested in this top half of the table, top right hand half of the table, but possibly no damage done. Is there any type of one pot onto another? There's a risky one, isn't there, Willie?
Yeah, the one down the cushion and screw back into baulk. But he's going to have to hit this absolutely plumb, because if he catches the cushion first, the red won't go in. So he's got to hit this directly full on. Yeah, you see it hit the cushion first, but got the good white. And that's an excellent safety shot, well played. That's the key with a shot to nothing. Whenever you play a shot to nothing, make sure you get the white. You know, sometimes give more effort on the safety than the pot sometimes on those kind of things, because it's so important. Couldn't have played it better. There is a safety shot for Joe here through the gap of reds.
This could end up beyond the brown or green if he plays it hard enough. Messed that up and got away with it. Or has he? I think he has. Well, luck has played its part in this match so far, in as much as after a player's played a poor shot, he's come to rest in a safe position. What does Ronnie do? He's more or less forced to play this pot, isn't he? Or can he play just safe into the corner? He's not playing the pot because he just doesn't know where the balls are going to go. That was...
Oh.
Well,
Joe Berry 4.
It wasn't careless as much as he just mishit it, really.
Well, I can presume he's played with a little bit of right-hand side, hopefully the white to turn a little bit more than it did, but you would have to say it was careless, Steve, wouldn't you, there? I mean, you should never, ever go in off.
Well, if the table rolled out a bit, that may have been the reason why. I did notice a couple of shots that the balls are tending to roll away from this left-hand side cushion into the middle of the table. Only fractionally, but it only needs to be a fraction.
Yeah, we saw Graham Dott in the earlier match, the ball roll off quite a bit. Maybe Ronnie watched that shot and played it for that reason, but Joe has got a lot of work to do here. Pink out of play, black not good. The fact that the brown's off its spot made that blue a little bit easier to play. So it's all about the blue at the moment. In saying that, the black's relatively easy to get onto. The two reds to the left of it, the one that are slightly more in open play, he can get onto those two reds anytime he wants and just drop on the black. May have to leave a long blue here. I don't know whether he fancies going in and out of baulk. He's not played that well. He's going to be hampered here. He needed to be on this dead straight. He's not dead straight. That's careless.
Various choices of positional shot, but the biggest problem is reaching this cue ball. He's got his extension on the cue and couldn't reach it with that, so the rest makes this a bit more difficult. You'd expect him to pot it. He'd be very upset with that.
Joe Berry 7.
Great chance there to get a 3-1 lead. Certainly make a big dent in this frame, but quite quickly Ronnie's back at the table.
It's the only good thing that's happened there for Joe is the fact that the blue's gone in a position where he's not guaranteed to be able to get on it. So if Ronnie works on the baulk colours for the next 2 or 3 reds, he's going to have to get on the black ASAP.
1.
The middle red of the 3 to the left of the black is the one he'd like to get on. If you can get onto that dead straight, you can just roll that in, get on the black, and the red on the cushion then's quite easy. Let's just see if he decides to play for that red now. There's plenty of options. He can get on about 6 reds here if he wants to. Well, he's took the one I played for. He's wanted to come through the gap a little bit harder, and I don't think he can get on the black nicely here. So whether he play the cannon on the black, let's have a little look what he's thinking of here. Decided to take the risk and played it lovely.
4.
Well, that was a great shot. That was superbly played. The weight had to be perfect to make this black as easy as this. And once again, how quickly does Ronnie O'Sullivan make what looks like an awkward break, or a chance of a break,
11.
into something that looks like a frame-winning opportunity? So quickly does he identify how to go about
12.
break building.
The key thing was, though, Steve, wasn't it? He's on the yellow. He could have got on 5 reds, and he knows the only way he can win the frame at one visit is playing for those 2 reds just above the black. And straight away, a lot of players definitely wouldn't have played that shot, but you just know when you watch Ronnie, or Stephen Hendry's another one, they look for the shot to win the frame at one visit, and that's the difference between a lot of the players. I'm not saying he's going to win the frame now at this visit, but boy, he's favourite.
$27. 28. $35. 36.
This is where being a player that's ambidextrous can come into fruition here. Playing this shot with the rest, you won't fancy screwing back. He's disappointed with the positional shot, isn't he? The blue is definitely hampering him.
Yes, it's unusual to see Ronnie O'Sullivan be forced away from the black. It looks to be fractionally the wrong side of this yellow, and so this screw back is tough. He potted it in the correct part of the pocket with the right-hand part, and even then, not ideal positionally.
38.
And this is missable.
You any good left-handed, Steve? Could you play a screw shot like that?
No.
It's amazing talent, isn't it? Oh, what a shot he's played
39.
there. Has played. Didn't play around the back of it. Knew the cannon was on. Hit it perfect.
Looking very much like 2-2. Although still a few balls to go.
46.
Fractionally low on this red. Can he just run through it for the black? Oh, that's risky. Doesn't want to go back away from the black again. And there's the risky part. Could easily
47.
have covered him up there.
Yeah, this is the shot where he's pushing through them. This is virtually frame ball, because you could see the next 3 reds and 3 blacks coming very quickly if this goes in. It has done. And I think that sprung off the cushion a little bit harder than they wanted to. The middle red of the 3 still pops though, so there's no problem.
$55.
Well, it's been a good match, this. There's been, both players have had chances to possibly, you know, each player would think, well, perhaps I should be 3-1 in front. I think the reflection of what we've seen so far, Joe Perry will be the most disappointed of the 2 players to be 2 each. Pot success rate, you see O'Sullivan's just that little point higher at the moment.
63.
But it's been good stuff.
70. 71.
Well, this match is bubbling up nicely.
79.
15-minute interval to come after this frame. Both players appear to be hitting the ball nicely when they're in close. Been a couple of loose safety shots
86.
from both players, but that's about the only criticism you could make.
87.
So if he takes the brown, the 100 looks a formality, but the clearance will require a bit of Ronnie O'Sullivan magic.
91.
Yes, he'd like to get onto the brown in the same pocket as the green, so it makes it easier to play the cannon on blue and pink. It's just the angle to do it. He might even risk playing the can on the blue and pink now just for a bit of fun. Just give him a right smash and hopefully come round. No, he's decided to get on it. But
96.
brown to blue now is tough. But it gets the 100. Stand clear, genius of work. Well, the century was made, a wonderful session of snooker. Both players will be quite pleased with the outcome. They're all square at the interval, 2 all.